All right, and now I think there are enough seats. So if everyone would put their rear end in one, we are going to get started here. So I'm going to go very quickly over the rules again. I don't think, we don't have very many latecomers, but I like to be sure everybody is aware. So all of the aldermanic candidates who are in contested races who have come tonight are at the front table right now. And they will all address, they'll all get a chance at each question. Mr. Mazuka Mark Mazuka of the 6th Ward is running unopposed, but we offered the opportunity for unopposed candidates to come and make a 2-minute statement, and he also can stay until the end in case you happen to have a burning question of him or you'd like to get his opinion on one of the answers that one of the other aldermanic candidates gave to you. So same rules as before. Obviously no personal attacks. This is Park Ridge. I have moderated many forums here. We've never had an issue with that, but I would always give the other candidate an additional 30 seconds to address it. If you have a question for me to ask the candidates, it just needs to be for city government level. Put your hand up if you don't have a card. Where's Becky? Put your hand up if you don't have a card. Mom, you've got some cards, right? This is a family affair, by the way. This is my mom, Mary Ann Tate, from the Park Ridge League of Women Voters. And sporting the stunning green sweater, my dad, Lee Tate. And I am Kathy Tate Radish from the Evanston League of Women Voters. The league always has people come in from outside the voting area in order to moderate. So literally, these guys can tell you, not only did I not recognize anybody, I couldn't get their name straight after they told me 5 times. I think that that's it. So we're going to let Mr. Mazuka address you for 2 minutes, and then he can stay, as I said. Then the candidates will each have 2 minutes for their opener. We'll go as before with the questions. If something occurs to you during, put your hand up so that we can get you a card, and we will be out of here by a little bit before 9 o'clock, I promise. Okay? So here we go.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Mazuka, and I have served as the 6th Ward Alderman for the last 4.5 years under both Mayor Schmidt and Mayor Maloney. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve with them as a volunteer for the people of Park Ridge, and I look forward to another term on the City Council. Public service has been an amazing experience for me, even though it's by far the worst paying job I've ever had. And I certainly did not get involved in this because I was a natural at it. I tell people what I think they need to know, instead of just telling them the things they want to hear. That gets me in trouble sometimes, but it's the right thing to do, and the only way I'd want to do it. So with the short time I have to speak here tonight, I'd like to thank you for your continued support and your patience with someone who does not aspire to be a professional politician. And all I ask tonight is that you continue to stand with the candidates before you who are here for the right reasons. The ones who approach this pursuit with humility instead of hubris, and who recognize that the hard work of good government is not about simplistic slogans. In my experience, it is very much the strong and slow boring of hard boards, and it requires both passion and perspective. For those we truly want in government, the hard work itself is a calling. And for those we truly don't want in government, those who seek office for money, power, and political influence, well, they shouldn't be allowed to play with your future in this sandbox. So after this election, all I ask is that you continue to stay informed and engaged, and hold those who prevail accountable. Offer just praise when they are frugal and invest your hard-earned money wisely, and register just objection when they do not. Rightfully demand that those who hold office never place their own financial interests, or those of their friends, ahead of the interests of the people they have sworn to represent. And by doing so, you will help ensure that the green shoots of good government continue to thrive in the city of Park Ridge. And with a little luck, maybe, just maybe, those good government principles will take you a few other places in Illinois as well. And wouldn't that be nice? Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you. And Mr. Mazuka can stay till the end. So just a little bit of housekeeping information about the aldermanic elections. There are, we believe, 4 candidates on the ballot in Ward 3. But we have 2 with us here tonight, 2 who filled out the paperwork and said that they were interested in coming. So you'll be hearing from Ms. Wilkening and Mr. Van Rooyen. And then there are 2 candidates in Ward 4, Mr. Schubert and Mr. Barnett. And then the other wards are either not up for election this time around, I guess, or are uncontested, as we just heard from Mr. Mazuka. So I think it's good, obviously, to get a wide perspective, but anybody in this room is only going to be interested in at most one of these 2 races up here. We understand that. So we're going to begin with Ms. Wilkening. She's got 2 minutes, and we're going to come right on down the row. She's going to give us her 2-minute opening statement. Ms. Wilkening.
Thank you so much. My name is Gail Wilkening. I'm a 41-year resident of Park Ridge. My husband, Bob, was elected 3rd Ward Alderman. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You might want to...
Yeah, sorry, you know what, go, start again from the very start. Sorry to do that to you.
Sorry.
And maybe, you know what, maybe we could cuddle up here, get a little bit cozier down here, you guys. And look out for the water glasses.
The most thrills I've had in a long time. Is this on? No. There it is.
All
right, thank you. I'm sorry. My name is Gail Wilkening. I'm a 41-year resident of Park Ridge. My husband was elected alderman of the 3rd Ward in 2015, and he died suddenly after being elected. I'm running to fill that position. Regarding qualifications, I've been elected twice before by the citizens of Park Ridge. I sat on the Park Ridge Board of Recreation and Park District Board of Commissioners for 8 years, was elected twice by the citizens, and I was president of that board for 3 years. And since I've decided to run for this position, I've spent every Monday at city council meetings getting schooled on what's going on and how our city government works. I have 2 areas of interest in this short time to hit on. First is flooding. You heard a lot about it earlier when the mayoral candidates were speaking. Most people can't afford to spend $10,000 or $15,000 on overhead sewers and so forth. Our infrastructure is in bad shape. Infrastructure is not glamorous, and no one thinks about it until it fails, and then it's too late. The second issue is finances. Again, we heard a lot about property taxes, but the city government only is 10% of your property tax bill. But anything we can do to help cut costs and watch spending is a good thing. I'm interested in keeping Park Ridge the way we like it. It's a charming town. It's got a small town feel. It's not like any other suburbs. I like to keep that small town feel and do my best to represent the 3rd Ward.
Thank you. Mr. Van Rooyen.
Am I on? Hi, I'm Rick Van Rooyen. I've been sitting as the 3rd Ward Alderman for the past 2 years. And some of the issues that we've dealt with as a city council have been stormwater remediation, business development, reducing your property taxes with respect to the city, and strategic planning. A lot goes on at City Council, and I've been an active member of that. This is the 2nd time that I've run for this office. I have 2 small children at home, and it's no treat to spend every Monday night haggling over one issue or another instead of being with them. But I can tell you that I do feel that there's value to it, and I'd like to continue offering my services to the community if they'll have me. Stormwater remediation is something that is what originally got me involved in wanting to be in this position. My neighbors had some troubles, and those troubles came my way at least once. I think it was my birthday, and I remember cleaning my basement up, that for the bulk of that day because my wife was upstairs crying. And I just kind of thought, you know, something needs to happen here, and my neighbors said, well, you know, why don't you go down and try to do something about it? And, you know, what I found is that, you know, one person can't do anything about issues in the city. We work together. The council is made up of 7 people who have valid votes and good reasoning. And I've appreciated being on this council so far, and I'd like to continue doing that and helping the community.
Thank you. Mr. Barnett.
I'm Jack Barnett. You know, every election is a choice, and this year the choice couldn't be more clear. Even more a difference between a choice of parties or personalities. This is a choice between 2 candidates and their true commitments to this community. I'm a Park Ridge guy. I've lived here most of my life. I've lived in 3 different homes in the 4th Ward. I've got a son who has his family living in Park Ridge. I've got a brother who lives in Park Ridge. I've got a nephew, Bob, and his family living here. I have very deep roots planted in this community. I was an alderman in the 4th Ward some years ago. I served for 4 years. I was active. I've worked. In fact, I just retired in January of this year after 38 years working. And it was, now I have time to give back, and I have that time and that commitment to give back to this community. My agenda is pretty straightforward. Common sense solutions to flooding. Flooding is an issue. I hear it every day. I've experienced it much like Rick has. I want to work toward a quieter community. I think there are some opportunities for us. I think the mayor talked a little bit about some of the soundproofing and some of the things that will help us, and a little tax relief as well. I'm an environmental guy. I worked for EPA for 38 years. I worked in noise pollution for a while. I think I can find some common sense solutions to some of the noise issues. I'm also interested in city services and keeping them at an affordable level. I want good police and fire service, and I think we need to maintain that. And of course, I want to see a continuation of the new buildings that we're seeing and the new businesses we're seeing downtown. I think that's a great asset for this community, but at the same time, we have to deal with traffic and parking, and those are issues we need to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schubert.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Roger Schubert, and I'm the current 4th Ward Alderman and running for re-election this April. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's always a great turnout for these types of events in Park Ridge, and I've certainly seen that during my time in office. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event at the Public Works Service Center. A little bit about my background. I've been a Park Ridge resident for almost 10 years. Born and raised in the great state of Michigan, but I've been in the Chicagoland area for about 25 years, and as I mentioned earlier, Park Ridge for about 10 years. I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter, who are very well known in the community through our participation with the Park Ridge Wilderness Scouts and Princess programs. I've also been heavily involved in the community through St. Paul the Cross. I also serve on the board of directors of the American Cancer Society, so a lot of non-for-profit board type experience. And I was a rookie in 2013 when I was running for city council and kind of learning all of this in terms of what it takes to run a campaign and what issues are important to people. And it's been a terrific 4 years. There's been a lot of highs and lows, but a lot of significant accomplishments in terms of moving the city forward. I currently serve as the Public Works Committee Chair, so I'm kind of right in the hot seat of all of the things we've been discussing in terms of stormwater management. We handled the garbage and recycling transition earlier this year, as well as some of the parking issues that we've started to tackle as well. So there's still a lot to come, and if I'm selected to run or selected to be in this office for a second term, certainly want to focus on kind of getting the job done with respect to the stormwater master plan and kind of making some decisions there. Also addressing the parking situation. We have a study going on right now, and we'll come up with some answers there, as well as continuing to move forward with economic development and some of the great businesses and restaurants that everyone's enjoying in the uptown area. Thank you.
Thank you. So Mr. Van Rooyen takes the first question first, and we'll always proceed kind of toward me, okay? So, Mr. Van Royen, microphone, there we go. Residents are worried that their neighborhoods will be destroyed to serve development. How do you feel about preserving the sense of community of residential areas? How will you strike the balance?
I'm not so sure. I understand that some residents fear development or have, it gives them pause. Some of the developments that take place within the city, I think everyone needs to understand that every time a piece of land is developed, we receive added stormwater protection from that. So each time a building goes up, that property is required to maintain or retain any stormwater that would usually flow off of that land. So to some degree, that is a positive of development. In terms of other developments, residential, there are some community members that have concerns about expanding residential development because the property taxes that are generated by those properties don't cover oftentimes the expenses of children who live in those properties going to school in the community. That drives our property taxes up, and that should be a concern to a lot of people.
Thank you. Mr. Barnett.
Many years ago, Park Ridge was a true bedroom community. Single-family homes predominated. Now we have many.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, our timer. My timer is not working very well. It's inefficient timer.
If I have done every job with the League of Women Voters, except I won't be a treasurer and I won't be a timer. The anxiety of it, like, and what if she stops them and then I've got to stop it and give them their seconds back? I'm telling you, these ladies are doing great down here. So let us know when you're ready.
Hold on 1 second here. We're almost there. Just
Round of
about.
applause for the timer.
And that will be coming again, believe me.
Okay, we're all set.
All right,
good.
here we go.
As I start off saying, Park Ridge was a traditional bedroom community. People commuted downtown. This is where I grew up. This is the way I felt like it was my hometown. I had that kind of a hometowny feel to it. Yes, there are a lot of new development. Some of them are very beautiful condo associations, etc. I think these are great. I am a little concerned, frankly, of too much congestion. We don't want to overbuild. This is not Chicago. This is Park Ridge. We want to keep it that hometown feel. So I am a little concerned about that, and I'm most concerned about traffic uptown and parking. I think that's a real inconvenience. Going to the library, going to some of the restaurants is becoming very difficult, and I think that's something the city has to really think about and master before we do any more significant development. I also just want to say real quickly that we're pretty much a fully developed community, so any development means something has to come down, and I think that's something we'd have to proceed with some caution.
Thank you. Mr. Schubert.
Thank you. Well, personally, I'm thrilled that we're actually having discussion about parking and the challenges in parking in the uptown area and also South Park, because that means that there's some good things happening in town. I can tell you when I first moved to Park Ridge almost 10 years ago, there wasn't really that much of a parking problem, maybe a couple areas right on Prospect, but we had more challenges with filling empty storefronts, developing a consistent zoning ordinance that everyone could understand and apply fairly and equitably. So that's one of the things I would want to focus on is parking, and from a development standpoint, continuing the momentum that we have started in the uptown area to South Park and other parts of Park Ridge. Understanding that Park Ridge is landlocked and that we don't have a lot of choices there, but if you have a consistent zoning ordinance that everyone can apply and understand fairly, I think those businesses that are attractive to Park Ridge will come.
Thank you. Ms. Wilkening. Watch the water glasses. Here we go.
Yes, certainly.
We just know it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Well, I brought a bottle and I can close it. So. Development is an issue. We hear a lot about it. Development has to be done sensibly. The city is dealing with the effects of a bad development, the uptown TIF. Say that 3 times fast. That cost the city $25 million, and we're still digging out from under that debt. Sensible development is one thing. There's just not a lot of space in Park Ridge, and I don't think we want to change what we feel the character of the town is. I credit our city council for refinancing part of that debt and lowering the burden on our taxpayers. But again, the city part of the tax bill is only 10 or 11%. Develop what we need, sensible we must be.
Thank you. Mr. Barnett will take question number 2 first. What would be your plans for the, got rewritten a little bit better. What would be a good use for the gas station lot at Oakton and Northwest Highway?
What would be a good use for that? See, that's outside my ward a bit. Let's see, Oakton and
That's my word.
Northwest Highway. I think I would be open to a number of ideas. I think if we could put in a store, some kind of retail business would be good. I don't know if that would be an appropriate site for it. I know there are other businesses in that area. It is zoned, I think, for business. But I don't think I have a specific idea. I think I would approach that like I'd approach any other issue that would come before the city. I try to gather as much facts as I could, try to get input from the residents, try to get input from the city staff, and whatever recommendations or ideas we came up with, try to make the best decision that would benefit the folks that live nearest to that. So that would probably be my answer.
Thank you. Mr. Schubert.
Thank you. So I don't necessarily believe that the city council should be dictating or determining which businesses go where in town. We should be having the appropriate regulations and ordinances in place to encourage people to come to Park Ridge, and they certainly have been. Having said that, I know that particular corner, since I've been on city council, I know at one time there was floated the idea of doing a drive-through Starbucks there, which I personally would have been happy with, but again, there might have been some other people that would not have. So I think, again, looking at that area in terms of how it's zoned really is open to whoever wants to open the appropriate business there, whether it's a Starbucks or some of the other retail establishment.
Thank you. Ms. Wilkening.
That's a busy little corner. And kitty corner from there, we have the 7-Eleven and Wally's, and across from there is the bank. What I wouldn't particularly care for was be another bank. If we have something retail, we do get some sales tax. I've heard about the drive-through Starbucks too. That's a really busy corner, and I think again, this is where you need sensible development. Something in there that makes sense will get us some tax revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Van Ryan?
Thank you. The corner you're talking about has been a gas station for many years prior. I would say that there's probably reasons why people interested in moving their businesses to Park Ridge haven't decided to invest in that piece of land at this time, and that's up to entrepreneurs. That's up to people who have the funding that want to start a business, where they're going to start their business. I support the idea of the city council, moving forward to try to hire a development coordinator on our staff, so that we can at some time have a relationship with realtors in the area and support them in bringing in small business to our community.
Thank you. Mr. Schubert takes this question first. What is the most important long-term challenge that Park Ridge is not yet planning for? How do you suggest tackling it?
I would actually echo, because I know this question was asked earlier, I would actually echo Acting Mayor Maloney's comments around infrastructure investments. Now that, you can kind of strip out the stormwater master plan component of that, because that's something that we're already addressing. But I think in terms of looking at various infrastructure investments in terms of streets, sewers, I know that we just received a grant for redoing Northwest Highway, so that's very exciting. So those are the areas that I think that, from my standpoint, I'd want to tackle, especially being the Public Works Committee chair. A lot of them will fall in my particular area of responsibility, but I think that's something that we should be looking at and developing a better plan going forward.
Thank you. Okay, watch the waters. Ms. Wilkinen.
Infrastructure, that, I've been beating on that since I started running. Infrastructure, you know, it's not glamorous, and nobody pays any attention to it until it fails, and then it's too late. We need to put money into sewers and streets and the kind of thing, again, they're not glamorous, but they make our quality of life better, whether we realize it or not. I see people in this room who I know personally have had feet of water in their basement. We need to address this flooding, and when we address the flooding, we'll work on the infrastructure.
Thank you. Mr. Van Rooyen?
I think the question was long-term challenges that we are not planning for.
Yeah.
Well, from sitting on the council for 2 years, I can tell you that there's almost nothing we're not planning for. We spend a lot of time outside of the chambers, working with staff, trying to plan for every eventuality in the future. And oftentimes dealing with decisions that were not made in the past or inappropriate decisions from the past. We deal with refinancing of TIF money that was done by prior administrations, and we've done that very well and saved $1.8 million on the city portion of the levy this year. And that's an 8.14% reduction in your property tax bill. So we are planning things. Stormwater mitigation is something that we've been working on consistently, and doing that is part of rebuilding our infrastructure.
Thank you. Mr. Barnett?
Everybody talks about infrastructure, nobody wants to pay for it. Last September, the city council passed stormwater utility. It was a fee charged on all parcels of land in Park Ridge based on their contribution to stormwater runoff into the sewers. And the runoff amount is appropriate, or a proportion to the size of the surface.
I'm sorry, can I just stop you? Is that?
I'm going for a massage after this.
Oh, wait, it's mine, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I was hearing voices, I wasn't.
No, the other day I was holding my coat up and it was me in the meeting. So.
As I was saying, nobody seems to want to pay for it, but the city council passed this idea, and it's a fair and equitable way to fund stormwater projects, and it will support the city's drainage. Now, my opponent in committee voted against this, and then in the city council, it passed 4-3, and Mr. Schubert voted against it again. So it's easy to talk about infrastructure, but you gotta pay for it. We gotta be realistic, folks. We gotta deal with these problems. You know, we can't stick our head in the sand. Let's put it that way.
Thank you. Ms. Wilkening, you take this next question first. What will you do to increase support to the Park Ridge Police Department?
It's an interesting question. Support in what way?
I
Don't know.
I assume it means financial, if there's an issue in Park Ridge.
I'm not aware of there being an issue in Park Ridge with supporting the police department. I've been to every city council meeting for over 4 months, and I don't remember an issue being brought up about it. I think our police are fabulous. Our public servants are wonderful. The police and fire department do a terrific job. We can do anything we can to help them in any way we can. If there's an issue, I'm not aware of it. And again, I haven't heard it discussed in city council in the last 4.5 months.
Thank you. Mr. Van Rooyen?
Thank you very much. Chief Kaminsky attends our council meetings pretty routinely, and when he does, he has the opportunity to bring to our attention financial needs that might be out there for his department. Oftentimes, the chief and of police, as well as the fire department, spend a lot of their time working on grant money and funding to help support the departments without burdening our taxpayers. And recently, the chief of the fire department was able to secure a grant money that enabled us to buy some equipment that was millions of dollars. And it just really is impressive that they can get that accomplished, and then, when necessary, come back to us and ask for budget increases where needed to support their needs.
Thank you. Mr. Barnett?
I've been in the Park Ridge Jail as a guest. I was invited in to do some indoor air quality studies in their facility. This building is the Taj Mahal compared to what the police have.